Studios. Joining us now, Mike Wade, Media Relations Specialist, Public Information Officer for the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Mike, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for inviting me.
So tell us the latest with respect to FEMA's disaster assistance here in Mississippi in the wake of these tornadoes that ripped through the state.
Well, one of the most important things that are happening today is we are opening 4 disaster recovery centers in for the 6 affected counties, meaning Carroll, Humphrey, Monroe, and Sharkey. They opened at 7 o'clock this morning. They'll be open until 7 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday, and from 9 to 1 on Sunday.
What sort of services do they provide?
Well, we have our an individual assistant specialist there that can help them through the process, answer their questions, update their application if it needs to be updated. We have a small business administration in there, which is our federal partner that help people with low-interest loans to really get them back on their road to recovery, as well as our hazard mitigation people that will help them rebuild better and stronger and at least let them look at some alternatives for protection.
What have the FEMA teams been doing since the tornadoes moved through?
Well, we have our disaster survivor assistance teams that have been out in all the communities, going door to door, and their purpose is to answer questions, register people if they haven't registered, if they need to, and update their case file if it needs to be updated. And what's important about them is that they are dressed in FEMA attire. They all have federal IDs. So, and I would caution anybody that if they say they're from FEMA, they should ask them for their federal ID card. Just because if they say, but we'll look at it real close. The other thing that other people that are out in the community are our inspectors that are inspecting the damages when people do report damages to their home or to their home. So. They are contractors, and they do not wear FEMA attire, but they have a federal contractor's ID badge.
Okay.
And typically they will call, they make an appointment. They just don't show up out of the clear blue. Yeah. So they will call, and one of the important things is that when they call, if they leave you, and if you're like me, you see a phone number you don't recognize, you normally don't answer the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So if they leave a message and leave their contact name and their phone number, you definitely need to call them back so that they can make an appointment to come out and inspect your loss.
What is the number of FEMA staff that have been in Mississippi since the tornadoes a little over a week ago?
Over 300.
Over 300, okay. Spread amongst these counties at this
Correct.
point? Okay.
Correct.
The president, of course, visited Friday, and it was on the ground in the area. Did he announce anything that would change FEMA's role?
No. One thing he did announce was the fact that he authorized 100% reimbursement to the state and municipalities in reference to their debris collection as well as their emergency protective measures, which are overtime signs and things like that to help the community prepare prior to the storm and for 30 days after.
Have you personally been on the ground, on the scene? Yeah.
Yes, I was over in Starkey yesterday. They have, from what I'm being told and what I saw yesterday, they have made tremendous progress in opening up the streets. There's a lot of debris stacked up along the roadways, but they're making great progress. And with all of the volunteer agencies that have been out there, and there were bunches of them out there yesterday, helping the residents of Starkey. And that's one thing that people need to understand. This is a whole community type of effort. It's not just the federal government or the state government or your local government. The nonprofits are here before anything happens, and they'll be here long after we're gone.
And that was another question that made me think about that is how long will FEMA be around? Like these facilities you're just opening up today, how long will they be?
Well, we'll be here as long as the need is there.
Okay.
It's like anything else. particularly with the disaster recovery centers. As the need winds down, then we have to take and look and be prudent of the money that we're spending. So, but we'll be here as long as it takes to get people hopefully back on their feet. We're here to jumpstart their recovery. Okay. And get them back moving toward some semblance of normalcy so that they can continue with their lives.
I recall in Katrina a large number of trailers, of temporary housing was provided because folks didn't have a home. Is that something you guys will be doing in this case?
That is something that the FEMA as well as the state is looking at. What that's going to be at this point in time, we can't tell you. Anytime we start bringing in temporary housing, it's a long process, and it's not something that happens overnight because obviously we've got to have power, water, sewer in order to bring any facilities like that in. So our first goal is to look and is there any rental property around to put survivors in. That's our first goal, to keep them in their community. We realize that people don't want to drive 20 miles and get their kids away from their schools and everything else. So we're doing everything we can to look at that.
Yeah. So I assume you've seen other scenes of disasters in your career at FEMA. How would you rate this one?
Well, anytime you have a disaster, it affects people in different ways. Something that's minor to you and I may be very consequential to somebody else. Yeah. So we don't look at it from, how does this one compare to something else? Because all of them are devastating to the people that it affects. Yeah.
Really incredible situation, and FEMA, of course, no stranger to Mississippi. We've had our share of natural disasters in the area.
Yes. This is, I think, the third one that I've worked in Mississippi in my years with FEMA.
Wow.
So I worked the tornadoes up in the northern part of the state years ago, and then the last individual assistance declaration was with the flooding up in the Delta.
Yeah.
So, we're doing everything we can. We have already put out over $2 million in assistance, direct assistance to survivors, whether it be a homeowner or a renter. And over 3,000 families or households have registered for assistance with us. So we're working diligently to try and get them the funding or the money that they need to start recovering.
What about coordinating with Mississippi agencies such as MEMA?
I'm working right out of their EOC over in Pearl, as most of our staff is, and then we have people out in the field that are working every day. Our DSA teams, the media relations specialists that work with me, SBA, all of them are out there working every day.
Yeah. Law enforcement as well. Does FEMA coordinate with them and private sector or charitable organizations?
We have, within FEMA, within our external affairs office, we do have private sector people that will interact with those private sector companies to find out, to try and reach their employees or how we can assist them in getting information out to their employees. So we interact with all of those agencies, and hopefully we can help. Even if it's a little bit, we're really trying hard.
Is there sort of a pecking order, a list of prioritized tasks that FEMA follows in these situations?
Well, first of all, we work for the state. We're here to support the state. Okay. So between the state leadership and our leadership, they set those priorities and how things are going to operate. And so our first goal, obviously, is to get people registered, and anybody that has sustained damages from the tornado in these 6 counties that have been declared, then we strongly encourage you to apply. And the other thing is that please stay in touch, because what you tell us when you register dictates what that household may be eligible for in assistance. And so stay in touch. If your situation changes, then stay in touch with us so that we can continue to help you.
Mike, appreciate the update. Thanks for being here, and thanks for the federal government coming to Mississippi in our time of need. Appreciate that.
We appreciate the offer to be here, and we're here, and we'll be glad to come back anytime you want us.
Mike Wade with FEMA has been our guest on Middays. We're stepping aside for a break.